riders or not. Today in the vlog we have stunt bikes. And Mark from Two Brothers Stunt Team.
How you doing? You good?
Mark not just do all the incredible tricks and magic on them, dancing on the motorcycles, but also you build them.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yep, and that's me and my fast wheelie. That is exactly how I met Mark.
So on the stunt bikes we have lots of modifications, like the flat tank. We were the first people to do a flat tank. It's just so a lot of people used to just dent them in, but we put a flat tank and we cut the top off and we put a steel plate in the top, and then that's just so you can stand on it, or you can do a headstand on it, or sit on it and you don't slip off, because obviously when the tank's rounded you slip off, and there's some of the tricks you do, like a frogger, where you put your foot in there on that hump there and you can stand on it. So that's why we do the flat tanks. This one's got a hole all the way through, but it has no use. We've done it just because it's cool, so it's got a hole right the way through, somewhere to put your sandwiches. And then of course we've got a crash cage. The crash cage, obviously, that says what it is. It stops the frame from breaking. But on the stunt bikes, the frames break really easy. So we make these steel trellis work frames up, and we weld it onto the back end of a standard 636 frame. So we put a billet in there, and we make all this. So it's all made, and then we make the top yokes. So the top yokes, because the standard yoke, they break. So we put the handlebars on a billet top yoke, and it stops them from breaking. You can run clip-ons or dirt bars with stunt bikes. We prefer to run dirt bars on the stunt bikes, whereas on the drift bikes we tend to run clip-ons, because it looks odd having dirt bikes with a fairing. We leave the fairings on the drift bikes because they look cool. You don't have to have them on, but they just look cool. So we like to have, it's just easier to ride the bike. As a freestyle stunt bike, it's easier to ride it without the fairing on, so it just doesn't get in the way, so it's just a bit easier. And then we have a larger radiator, so it's a bit bigger than standard, but all that is an earlier ZX-6R radiator, so it's got more capacity, but we fit 2 fans, stop it from boiling over. And then we fit R1 forks. The ZX-6R forks, they break way too easy, so we put the R1 forks on, and all you have to do is bore the bottom Kawasaki yoke out, and then they slide straight in with one of our top yokes, so it's nice and easy conversion. We have a handbrake, so we have 2 rear brakes. We've got a foot brake, and then we have a handbrake. One of the biggest things in stunt riding is handbrake and sprocket. So with the clutch lever, a little easy clutch there, and then you can ride like this, and you can use a clutch and a brake at the same time. That's for when you've got your legs over the handlebars or something like that, so you can't get to the rear brake, so you can use the handbrake. And then we run a twin, I'll show you on this one. So we run a twin caliper. So on this one's slightly different to that one. This is a standard foot caliper, goes to the foot brake, and then we have these 2 calipers on the handbrake. On the stunt bike, we only have 2 of these. It's just a different system, does the same thing. But what we do is we run a valve in the master cylinder on the stunt bike, so that when you use the handbrake it uses both calipers, and when you use the foot brake it only uses 1 caliper.
So you have 3 calipers on the
yeah, on this one we do. On the stunt bike we only have 2 calipers. I can show you if you like. You can come around. So on this one we only have 2 calipers. This is a more pro setup. It's a little bit more difficult to use, but once you've learnt it, this is the better system. And then what we have, a valve in here, so the handbrake comes down and round into here, and then it runs both calipers. And when you run the foot brake just there, it only runs through that one, and it only uses 1 caliper. Then we have a rear sub cage. So this cage here, instead of having the cast aluminium ones, we have these, and this stops it from breaking, so your foot doesn't go into the back wheel. So never ever stunt ride unless you've got one of these. This is really important. And then we have things like this, which are steel rear sets instead of the aluminium rear sets. These, if you bang them, they just bend and you can pull them back again because they're steel. And then we run these little aluminium billet pegs. The cast ones just snap off as soon as you come off, so you run these. The last time we done a show it was raining, so we got grip tape on. We don't normally have this grip tape on. It's actually hockey tape, but it's only because it was raining. Then you can have things like the pegs coming out of the front yokes. That's for one of the tricks when you're standing on the front forks. So you've got those footholds there. What else have we got?
You have a cage for radiator. Is that a protective one?
That's right, yeah. So the radiator itself, they break really easy because they're only aluminium. So we put a cage around them, and it stops when the bike lands. It stops the top radiator mounts breaking or splitting the radiator. So we have a radiator cage, and then of course we have a 12 bar. So you have a 12 bar on this one. So when you go, you don't smash the plastic if you go too far back. It's just. We don't really use these that much, but just if you do touch the back of the bike down, it stops it from smashing all the plastic at the back.
And it sparkles.
This one does, yeah. This one's got a bit of titanium. We like sparks. Sparks are good.
Yeah.
So when you touch that down, we get some sparks. And then
we have a hole here.
Yeah, we have a hole here, so it's just so the bike's more central. When you've got your foot in there, it's nice and central, so it keeps the weight central around the bike, and you've got a foot plate in there, so it's a nice place to put your feet. Just makes it that much easier. This one's got a steering damper. You don't necessarily need a steering damper on a stunt bike, but when you're doing headstand and some of the acro tricks, it's actually just a bit better to have a damper on there. But on the drift bike, the main difference, obviously, is this was one of the first ones we done. This is a new swinging arm, and it's got a 10-inch stretch, and it just stops the bike from high-siding. So when you're drifting, you probably see when we're practicing, we do drift the normal bikes. But with these you can be so much more liberal with the throttle, you can really get on it. And it just doesn't tend to high side too much. When it goes to high side you know it's going to do it and it gives you a warning. On a normal bike we all know it doesn't give you any warning, it just high side you and chucks you off. These give you a bit more warning, so you can be a bit more, you're getting ready for it. And then also with that 10-inch stretch, it just slips a lot easier. This is a really sticky tyre from Michelin. Really sticky. You do need a sticky one.
So they are different. You're running different tyres on both bikes. So can you take us through which?
Yeah. So on this bike, when you're drifting, you want a little bit of grip. You don't want too much grip. You just got to get it just right. And then because you've got the stretched swinging arm, you need a bit more grip. So this is one of Michelin's Pilot Road 6s. So it's a reasonably sticky, fast road use tyre. On the stunt bike, we run a touring tyre, which is quite hard. It's a single compound, so it doesn't tend to stick so much. But on the front tyre, it's all about grip. So on the front tyre, we have a Michelin GP tyre, which is an amazing tyre, and we have it on both bikes, and it's super sticky. And you can do stoppies with it and all the rest of it. And even in the rain, it will stop you. They're absolutely brilliant.
How about tyre pressure? Is it different?
Massively, yeah. So it's all about tyre pressure. On the front, we run about 30 psi.
On both?
Yeah, on both bikes. On that bike over there, we run only about. It depends on the rider. Some people ride 30 psi, some people ride 40 psi. Depends on what they want. But on the drift bike, we run 50 to 60 psi to make
That's
it.
A big difference.
It's a big difference. It also helps the tyre stop overheating, and it lasts longer too. So we tend to run a higher pressure on the drift bikes. The drift bike, you don't need all the stunt modifications that we have on the stunt bikes, but on the drift bikes we do that just so that when we jump from one bike to another it feels the same, and we run the same bike so we carry all the same spares. But you can put a swinging arm in any bike really and it'll drift.
Oh, okay, so if somebody wants to have a drift bike, the main modification they have to do is just a longer swing arm, and that will drift better.
You do, 100%. You do probably need to change the sprocket. You don't have to, but
the bigger one?
It's slightly bigger, very slightly bigger, because there's a lot of drag on the gearbox. It's spinning all the time, trying to grip. There's a lot of leaves going around. It's all going in my eyes. I don't know where all this wind has come from.
You chose the date.
I did, sorry.
That wasn't my decision.
So yeah, that's pretty much the stunt bike and the drift bike. We tend to run clip-ons like I say on that one, but they are stunt clip-ons. They're quite interesting. So they're really solid. They're not like road clip-ons. They're really beefy, very strong. You can adjust them to any height or any position you want. Whereas with the standard clip-ons, if you touch down, they'll break or they'll snap off. Whereas these ones don't. But a lot of people use them for stunts or drifting. Depends, it's personal choice really.
I have a few questions, starting with welds. But when you make your own frame, I heard that you're doing different welding from just like a normal one. What is it?
Yeah, so the welds on these are TIG welded, they're not MIG welded, these are all TIG welded. And because this is the old chrome moly, T45 we call it now, but it's what we used to be called chrome moly tube, which is I think 3 to 4 times stronger than normal steel tube. So it's very strong, but you can't really weld it with a normal TIG rod. You need to use an A32 rod, which is a chrome moly welding rod. So we TIG weld, which is a specialist welding obviously, and then of course you use a chrome moly rod, which is an A32 rod. Don't really want to use your standard rods on chrome moly tube, it cracks, so we use that.
And you've changed the sprocket on this one as well to
this one's
significantly bigger.
Yeah, this is a 65 front sprocket and one down on the front as well. Big difference there. But it just makes the front wheel lift slower. Everyone thinks it comes up quicker, only if you twist the throttle, but it doesn't. It comes up slower, brings it more controllable. And then when you're doing circle wheelies, etc., you can leave it on idle. You don't have to keep clutching, but you're going quite slow. So with the gearing, you can run a lot slower.
And you mentioned a couple of times that the stock bike is Kawasaki
ZX-6R, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, one of those, but an older version.
That becomes that.
Yeah.
Or that.
I spend my Mondays like Fridays. I spend my Fridays in a box with my heart on my whining. I put my pinings on pedestals instead of keeping them grounded. What's that mountain to nothing? Let's make something from nada. Let's go to Gucci and Prada. Set the buildings on fire. Screaming death to designer while we listen to ponder. I'm on a grown man, baby face, kind of a tantrum. Spreading like cancer did, and my father's skeleton. Damn, friend, I ain't sad that he come while I'm crying to help with him. I ain't good at embellishing, I'm more better with medicine than a spoonful of sugar. Watching everything go down, that's a long way. Pray that I never see the ground. A long day, I swear there's a better me around. Just gotta grab it, this is magic, this is switch from lost to found. Make my baggage do a backflip, stick the land and hit the town. With my homie smoking spliffs until our lungs burst. We some songbirds who made our way out of the cage. We all some dumb nerds, probably should get to acting our age. But where's the fun in that? We going fishing for dreams we kept intact. Skipping plans, playing hooky on school days.
Yeah, but that's a fairly new one. That's a fairly new bike, that's 2017.
What year are your bikes?
These are 2003, Stunter's choice of bike. Everyone tends to run these, or 675 Triumphs, old CBR 600. People tend to use them, but they're a bit old hat now. But most people use these or 675 Triumphs. What else do they use, Ryan? What other bikes?
R6?
R6, some of the guys use R6, yeah. But this is probably the most common stunt bike you'll see, yeah. And we make all the parts for them, so it just makes sense to use one of these. The hardest thing is getting bits for these bikes.
So if any stunt riders watching my channel and watching this episode and they don't know you yet, that happens, can they contact you for parts if they need something?
Yeah, they can do, yeah.
So you sell them as well?
Yeah, we don't advertise at all. We don't even have a website. We figure that's not my main business. We got the engineering company, so we do it as something that we do at work, but we don't advertise. We figure if you're a stunt rider, you know who we are.
A few questions about your riding history. Can you tell everyone how you started stunt riding and how you became so good? How long it took? It definitely didn't take a week or so.
Last week I started. I got a book, read it. I'm doing it now. It's great.
Yeah.
No. So I spent most of my life racing. I've done motocross for 20 years. And then eventually I moved into kart racing, so we done kart racing and had a bit of an accident, put myself in a wheelchair for quite a while. So after I finished that, I just decided that I'd always been interested in stunt riding and I'd always played around doing it, so I thought, why not, we'll have a go. And then within a couple of years I was doing it professionally, but I didn't start learning then. I started learning before that because I'd been doing motocross and playing around, and you know, so it takes such a different amount of time. Some people will learn to wheelie in a matter of weeks. They go out every day and they'll learn in a matter of weeks. Other people, they go out for years and they still don't get it. But it does take a while. I mean, I've been doing it professionally now about 15 years, I suppose. But to get to a good level, I mean, there's a guy at the moment in Ireland who's doing really well. He's probably been doing it a few years and he's got to a really good level in just a matter of a few years. So it's not something you're going to learn in 2 weeks, definitely not.
Yeah, it
Definitely not.
takes a few years. How about places where to train? How somebody can find a place? Because not every local car park will allow you
Yeah.
to make such noise. And
Yeah, that's the real problem. Is finding somewhere to ride is so difficult. There's a few riders that have given up because of it now, because they can't find anywhere to ride. So it is really difficult to find somewhere to ride. If you just turn up somewhere and start riding, you're going to get thrown off, and it's illegal. Don't do it. But there is always somewhere, you know, you can ride, but just don't ever say the word stunt when you're talking to people, because they think you're going to be jumping 20 buses or something.
Yeah.
People who don't know, just say you're doing freestyle street bike riding, and then they understand a bit more.
if somebody started stunt riding and they started on a smaller bike or something and they don't know much about it, what the first 3 mods you would recommend to do?
Sprocket, big sprocket, handbrake and a cage. As simple as that. That is the 3 things
That's
you
the
need to
essentials.
do. Yeah.
And that would be enough to start.
Yeah, I would think so, wouldn't you, Ryan? Yeah, it's about right, yeah. Yeah.
Have you adjusted the engine at all?
No.
No, so it's an
No.
absolutely stock engine.
Yeah, the only thing we do is a clean air mod, because what happens is the oil comes up from the gearbox, and the clean air mod, so that the oil vents from the crankcase, the gearbox case, up into the top of the injectors. If you leave it like that on one of these bikes, when you're wheeling at 12 o'clock, the oil pressure builds up in the crankcase, pushes the oil up into the top of the injectors, goes down into the bores, and basically hydrolocks the engine, which is a really bad thing. So what we do is we take that vent and we put it back into the top of the crankcase, so it doesn't hydrolock. So that's quite an important thing on a road bike of this size. Don't ever run it without a clean air mod, because it will hydrolock.
So
You
it
had a
is
little
bigger.
wheelie today, didn't you?
I did a mini wheelie today and a mini wheelie bike.
You did?
Maybe next time it will be a little bit higher, because we have somebody from a wheelie school here as well. But we'll see him in the other episode, because he has something very big building and very exciting. Once he'll finish, I'm gonna visit him, and then we will talk about wheelie school and everything and the passion that you have.
He's actually a very good stunt rider. He's not just a wheelie scoop. He competes in the British Championship. He's my bro.
He's my bro too.
It's a shame my teammate's not here today, Paul Todd. He's who normally rides with me, but he's not available, so I really dragged the bottom of the barrel and got Ryan over. And of course Trina's normally with us, my partner Trina, she's normally
Yes,
here.
I wanted to meet her again.
Yeah, she's not here, she's working
Oh,
today,
oh,
so
okay.
she couldn't do it.
Okay.
So it's just me and Ryan today,
And bikes.
and bikes,
And bikes.
and sunshine and wind.
And sunshine that does no favors at all.
No, it's
Also-
false sunshine, it's not hot, so it's false sunshine.
False sunshine. That's what we have in UK. I can't even talk anymore. I'm so cold. But the very quick question. I heard you and Ryan talking about you adjusting your clutch cable because it was getting on the way, and you having this. So when the clutch cable was getting on the way, it slides up. How about like little things like that? Do
Yeah.
you find it while you're riding that you need to adjust, and then you make parts and keep adjusting along the way?
Yeah, you know, it never stops evolving. You know, you're always coming up with new ideas. This actually I stole off another rider who we won't mention. So we shortened the clutch cable and rerouted it, because what used to happen is you used to come all the way around and get caught on the bottom yoke, and then you lose your steering. So we used to make these little covers up to stop that from happening. I've only just set this up and put a shorter cable on and shortened the brake cable. And it goes through here now, so it doesn't get caught on there. But all those little touches, they make a huge difference, you know. And everyone has their bikes set slightly different, and it's just all those little tweaks to just make life just a bit easier. And things like a kill switch cover. Put a cover on the swivel kit, kill switch. What you really don't want to do is kick that when you're riding, so we make these little kill switch covers up. There's all little things like that that really help.
Yeah, or when you take somebody like me on the bike,
who had a foot on the brake.
Has a foot on the rear
And
brake.
I was thinking,
When
why is
he
this
drives
bike not wheeling?
I
Because
was
someone's got their
thinking
foot on the
like
brake.
That feels strange. And then you said, oh yeah, that's what it is.
Don't, when you take someone on a bike wheeling, let them push the brake.
Yeah. I was just tapping. I wasn't pushing all the way.
She's learning balance point foot brake. That's what she's learning, yeah.
I was helping you actually.
That's what it was. I couldn't
It
have
felt
done
a little more real for me. Because first time I didn't do that.
No, you didn't.
So
no.
this time I decided no, it was absolutely in purpose. I was.
You want to
just
get more
a
involved.
little bit like I want. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank
No
you for
problem.
your time. Thank you for staying and filming on such a windy, wonderful day.
It is a very windy
And
day.
taking me for a wheelie as well.
Again.
Thank you so much. Again, once
No
again.
problem.
Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.
I get everyone's energy here. That's good here, you know? Here. Got it?
Lovely here, yeah. That's so cool! I have my sticker on a stunt bike. How sick is that?